and welcome to Small Town Big Business, a podcast about doing big business in small town rural America. We're glad to have you with us. I'm Jennifer Olson. I'm the Director of Business Development for the City of Marion.
And I'm Russell Williams. I'm Director of Ethos. Ethos is a small business incubator. We offer co-working spaces and also do training and development for small businesses and nonprofits. We're here in downtown Marion, Illinois, on the historic Tower Square Plaza. Thank you for joining us today. And thank you to our sponsors for sponsoring the Small Town Big Business podcast. So a shout out to Arcadia Wealth Group, Black Diamond Harley Davidson and RV, Fowler Heating and Cooling, the Swinford Media Group, Watermark Auto Group Foundation, Banterra Bank, and also Southern Illinois Now.
I'm very excited. Today we have a special guest from Mandala Gardens, and that is Reid. Welcome.
Thank you.
Good morning.
Good to be here. Good morning.
You're one of our friends. We've known about you for such a long time, and somehow we've missed you on the podcast.
Yeah, well, it's good to be here. When time comes, it happens.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Tell us about yourself. Tell us about yourself, like before Mandala Gardens.
All right. Well, I grew up in Greenfield, Illinois, a little town in Greene County, about 2.5 hours north of here. And our claim to fame was that we didn't have a stoplight in the whole county. But now we have a blinking red. A little town of about 1,000. So grew up there, went to Eastern for 4 years. My fourth year there, I was kind of burnt out on college, and I wanted to join the Army and jump out of airplanes. So I dropped out of college and joined the Army for 4 years. Yeah. Was a sergeant in the infantry, mortar platoon. Was with the 101st Airborne Division in Desert Storm.
Wow.
And then came back and used the GI Bill, went to college for another 4 years, got my undergrad, my master's in biology.
Yeah.
And then got a teaching job in St. Elmo in 95, I think. That was my first teaching job, and was there for 2 years, teaching 7th and 8th grade science. And then in 97, a job opened up in Marion. Okay. And so then the original Dr. Oates interviewed me with Ken McAnally and got a job.
Yeah.
And so I've been here since.
Excellent.
Yeah. And so there's me in a nutshell before moving to Marion.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And I thought, teaching kids was the most dangerous thing that you did. I didn't know we had this whole military history.
Well, teaching kids is.
But jumping out of airplanes is good training.
Well, that was fun. That's right. Teaching's fun, too. I still get up and say yippee. It's my last year, actually.
Oh, yeah.
So
congratulations. I knew you were close.
Yeah, real close. Yeah, so actually this is it.
So
that's exciting.
6th, 7th, or 8th grade?
I teach 8th grade now.
And
I teach 6th grade.
Science, right?
Yeah, 8th grade science, and then I teach a 6th grade and 7th grade robotics class.
Okay.
They started the robotics program about 8 years ago or so.
Yeah.
A grant came up through Watermark, and boom, got it.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Good.
Yeah.
So I am always surprised how many people still don't know what Mandala Gardens is, where it is.
Right
So
here, yeah.
kind of just tell us about that business.
Yeah, it's a garden. It's on 1704 North State Street, which is just north of Lincoln School, kind of towards Spiller Town. There's 7 acres there. The house I live in has 4 acres, and then there's a house next door that Brandon and Ebony Smith live in currently, and they help in the garden. Shout out to them.
Yeah.
And that has 3 acres. And so it's on the north end of town, and it's just a garden. I don't have an indoor space per se. In fact, I don't. I've got a 30-foot diameter gazebo, and there's gardens and a pond and different, sculptures and we have different events there. People can get married there, birthday parties, showers, any type of thing like that. And then we had the big art in the garden for 3 years in a row, which is a great big vendor thing. And a lot of people don't know. I don't even have a sign in front that says Mandala Gardens, so that could be an issue. But it's okay because people find it, and once they find it, they're like, oh, this is really neat, and then they come back.
Right.
So, but it's getting on the radar. And a lot of the thing was, you can have a garden and the beds look nice, but then when you have individuals show up, you're like, well, what am I going to do? And unless you're into gardens, well, you're not going to walk around.
Yeah.
But then I've found that people will come because it's unique, it's quiet, it's not a park. It's, you could be the only individual there. Mm-hmm. And so it's working out really well. Yeah, it's getting on everybody's radar, so I'm happy with it.
But how'd you get from school teaching to this project, small business?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, there's a change there.
Yeah, there is. We lived on South Bentley Street for a year and a half, and then Diana found 4 acres that I live in right now, which was Louis Hill's old house. and that's hills related to the Benny's Hills.
Okay.
And he had all kinds of flowers everywhere. There are flowers in the garden currently, and a little lady statue against a big oak tree out in the back that was actually his. He had it in his front yard as part of a fountain. Well, Diana found this house that was for sale and had 4 acres, and the individuals added onto the house in the 70s and didn't put support beams in. And so the roof was sagging in the kitchen and the living room about 6 to 8 inches, and an individual was going to buy it prior to us, and he was a construction guy, and they were going to do the work themselves, but the insurance wouldn't cover it, so they backed out, and then we got the house, and we said, we'll do it ourselves, and it worked. And then we got that 4 acres and just had our gardens. We had no idea about the business-wise, though gardening has always been a passion. I was a botany major. And in college, we each worked, Diana and I, Diana Tiger Lily, co-founder of the garden, blueheronholistics.com, look her up.
Very good.
We each worked at a nursery that was owned by the same business. I was in Charleston and she was in Mattoon, and she was the potter up of the plants, and I was on a landscaping crew. And so we both graduated with our masters, and we liked working with the nursery, and we contacted the owner. So we went in, we said, here's our idea. You have this great big giant field here. Let's fill it up with these beds and make a nice place where people can come, so they're not only going to your nursery, they're visiting this space. And he says, you two just graduated with your masters. Don't come work for me. Go do your own thing. And which was the best advice he ever gave us, because we were perfectly fine working at a landscaping nursery forever. And so that was the seed. And then when we got the 4 acres, it's like, oh, great. But we grew vegetables and corn and chickens and goats and all that kind of stuff, but it's not big enough for a garden. And we didn't have a water feature. And it was just plants on the ground. And then in 2010, the house next door opened up, and it was kind of the same deal. It had been vacant for 3 years, and all the pipes were frozen, so we got a good deal on it. And a whole bunch of things converged at once. That house came open. We'd always been looking for sandstone and getting sandstone from friends to put on the ground. But then Diana found an individual that owned a rock quarry down by Cave and Rock, and he was selling pallets of sandstone for $100 a pallet, which is dirt cheap. And when we went down there, we found out that he was retiring and moving to Florida and was selling his whole quarry. And he had all this rock sitting on top of the ground that he hand-picked. And we said, we'll buy every stone you have if you give us a deal. And we got it bought and delivered from Cave and Rock for $27 a ton.
Wow.
And I think we bought 600 tons or something insane. I have a spreadsheet that has all this in. So, and then we had all this sandstone, and we were going to make little patterns on the ground because that's all we knew. And then we met through a mutual friend, Thea Alvin, who's a stone artist, and she goes all over and makes these stone sculptures that we have at the garden. And we contacted her and said, here's what we have, and took pictures of all these piles of stone that we had all over the ground. And she said, oh, I can do something with this. And so she came down, and the infinity arch, which is the 3-arched structure, was the first structure that she built. And that was actually featured in the New York Times, because the New York Times did an article on Thea, because she's out west in Vermont. And so the sketch of the infinity arch was in the New York Times, and she said, I won't build another one of these. This will be the only one that's in existence. And I'm like, oh, that's great. And so that was the first structure she built. And then she came back the next year, and I think we built the Moon Gate, which is the round stone structure by the pond. Well, first we dug the pond. Daryl Crumby dug the pond for us. Because if you had a garden, you have to have a water feature. And we're like, all right, we have 7 acres now. It's flooding. We can capture that water by just digging a big old hole, and sculpted the land and then turned it into the garden that we wanted, and rebuilt the border. So every time we buy another parcel of land, we tear down the border because it's just a ditch, and then we replant the border. And then it turned into the garden. And it got on everybody's radar, and the main thing that people say is, oh, this is somebody's backyard. Which is true, and it makes it kind of weird for a person to walk in. But I'm like, no, come on in. And so, and then people do, and it works.
And what year was it you founded the business?
Well, like officially as an LLC or making money doing taxes, I don't know, in about 2015, I think. We had it large enough that we started selling plants out front. Vegetables, heirlooms and herbs was the first thing that we were focusing on. And we were selling 15 varieties of heirloom tomatoes and all kinds of heirloom cucumbers, etc. And we wanted to bring people to the garden as opposed to going to a market. Now, we went to markets for several years, but the idea was, no, you come to us as opposed to the other way.
Right.
So, and then it transitioned because a lot of people will go to the garden, and unless, again, you're a gardener, you don't care about a zucchini or a tomato. You want to look at something that's pretty.
Yeah.
And so then all the individuals started pointing out all the flowers, and then it transitioned into flowers, and that brought photographers in, and that brings more tourists in because they see something pretty. Mm-hmm. And I'd like to transition back to the veggie stuff, but as long as the person's taking a picture of a flower, I'll do that all day.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And that's how it transitioned into it.
Yeah.
And just a gradual process, chipping away.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
So I know people use it as a photography backdrop, a venue, but how did you start getting into more event-driven, and where does that draw from as far as getting exposure?
Event-driven was because it was, and again, the idea was to bring people to the garden to have an event. And one of the first impetuses of, I need to do this, was Luke had a Union Street Arts Fair about 3 or 4 years ago. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, I want to do that, at the garden. So I talked to him, and boom, it morphed into Art in the Garden. And so we just started having vendors coming out. And I always like to go into farmers markets and to vendor fairs, and you're walking and you just walk around, you have a food truck and you have some music. And that takes place in Marion, and I wanted to do that because I think it's fun. And then it just started. Dipped in, got my feet wet, tried it this way, and if that didn't work, then modified it and made it work. And
Well, it sounds like your network of artists and food vendors and all really expanded, like boomed.
It did.
Very suddenly.
Yeah. In 2020 was so I created an LLC in 2020 after Diana and I split up. And then that was the impetus of like, boom, let's get the garden going. And then that was all COVID time, which is great because I was the only game in town. You have 7 acres and you could come outside. And so that got everybody on the radar. And then things started opening up. And once I was on the radar, I'm like, well, I need to get myself a website that's not so janky. It's still pretty nasty, but I'll fix that later and do a Facebook page and get the word out.
Yeah.
So, and that's, I don't know, it was just organic. I always figure if you build it, they will come.
Right.
So,
but it really made all the difference
as
as far as events and artists.
Oh yeah, and that's the thing. I don't know. Artists and musicians are really cool, and they enjoy a garden. They don't mind sweating. They want to get out there. Yeah. They want to, here's what I'm producing. Here's what I'm making. Come see me, and we're gonna have a good time together and help each other out. And so it really worked well, tremendously well. How smooth it went, but not by myself. I mean, holy smokes!
Sure.
We put Art in the Garden on. There's Union Street Arts and Project Human X and Guy and Michelle, and now we've got Salient. Arts Co. is involved. The Civic Center sponsored it.
Yeah.
Banks are sponsoring it, and so we just want to continue to grow that aspect of it.
That's good.
Yeah, it's exciting.
Well, and I think too, one of the special things about Art in the Garden, in addition to it growing, expanding, getting some new partners, is people making art there and other interactive. I mean, this year, maybe they've been there before, but the people who were doing metal work, and I mean, it was not particularly cool that day.
No,
and that was so special.
Yes, and I knew he was back there, but I didn't know what he was doing. But he's actually making a metal flower that he's going to gift back to the garden. And he was working on the stem, that big old metal thing he was twisting around. Yeah. And so I didn't know that's what he was doing, and so it was really neat. Yeah, the variety of vendors was just it was amazing. It was really cool.
Yeah,
never had a blacksmith out there before. So, and then painters and everything. Yeah.
But I think there's something special. People do want to see how things are made.
Oh, they do.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you come out and you see, you got a little glass blowing here and you got your torch, and that's how you do it. And your blue heron that you worked on didn't turn out the right way. And so, this third variation, that's the nice one. And so you can see the progression of the artist art as well.
Yeah.
Which is neat. And I don't do art. I grow a garden. That's my art.
Yeah.
Landscaping, I like that. And so... But so then you see somebody else doing something that you can't do.
Right.
It's like, that's really neat.
Yeah, it's about the experience.
It is. Yeah, it's about the experience.
And the vibes that all the musicians, the art, the venue just brings those vibes.
It's immersive. If you're not involved in it, you're not going to enjoy it. But some people will, pick your level of involvement.
Yeah,
You want
exactly.
to really get in it, or do you want to just view it? It doesn't matter.
If you just want to go out and have a glass of wine and just,
Yeah.
watch.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? Exactly.
Yeah, everybody needs a viewer.
Yeah, exactly. That's awesome. You mentioned some people in our community, artists and vendors, that have been very supportive. Who else has been supportive in helping you put pieces together, especially with the small business part of it?
Well, I started taking classes here at Ethos before I knew what I was doing. I didn't take a business class.
Before we knew what we were doing.
Well, yeah. Well, that's whatever. Nobody knows what we're doing. We're just doing our thing. Learn as you go. Oh, yeah. I don't know what you called it when you're reading the books. What are those?
Mastermind.
Mastermind
Yeah,
classes, yes.
absolutely. Yeah.
I took 2 mastermind classes, and this was at the beginning of COVID, I think. We might not have even been teaching because we were out of school so long.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then I started taking the mastermind classes. I said to myself, if I'm going to do this, I can't just be a dude that's doing it because I like it. I have to do it right, or I'm going to lose it. And so took some of the mastermind classes, read a couple of the books, had conversations with individuals, took the top 10 legal mistakes because I wanted to
Martin
know
Parsons.
that you told me he's putting another one on.
Yeah.
Actually did it twice, and I still know what I'm doing wrong, so that's good. It's a great class. Yeah, and that's what it was. It's like if I didn't know how to do something and you were putting on a class, then I would take that workshop. And even if I did know it, because you had a couple classes on nonprofit versus a small business.
Right.
What are you going to do? And I
Yeah.
kept going back and forth because I don't know of any garden that's a privately owned garden that's not a nonprofit. I mean, they're out there. And so I really went back and forth. Do I do a nonprofit or do I just stick as a for-profit? And so I went to those classes, and it was a nonprofit class I went to after I went to the for-profit, and then I asked a question of all the nonprofit individuals. I said, would any of you be a nonprofit if you could succeed as a for-profit business? And one person raised their hand, and everybody else said they would prefer to be a for-profit.
Interesting.
And I'm like, all right, I'm going to try it, because and it worked.
Yeah.
So all you got to do is pay your bills.
That's excellent.
Yeah, and so. Yeah, and I highly recommend all you people out Ethos. You put on some great classes.
Thank you.
And if you don't know it, if you don't know something, go. And if you think you know it, still go, because then you're going to learn something that you don't know.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
And it's also,
guaranteed.
as you mentioned, it's the people that are in the room
Right.
too.
Oh,
Yes.
guaranteed. Yeah, you'll
Right.
have conversations.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, you're dealing with the same thing that I'm dealing with, and
Right.
how did you fix that?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's,
Because we're a community small business, incubator, training and development, and it's the community part of it that works well. Is that's where you don't get that other places, unless even in networking meetings, it's really hard to do that unless you meet the one person that's willing to meet with you later and have those private conversations and start the relationship.
Right.
But here we kind of open up the venue and make it a safe place to talk about no one wants to talk about what's not working.
Right.
right. But you have to.
Because it makes you feel like, well, I'm dumb, to not. But here, just everybody has something that they need help with, right?
Oh, precisely.
So, yeah.
Well, I think traditional networking is more you're pitching. Here's who I am. Here's what I do.
Here's my business card.
It's
Yeah.
very one way, and then you breathe, and the other person pitches back at you, and that's it.
Yeah.
Where the things that tend to happen in more of a classroom or in mastermind, where you're reading a development book together, is more of a we're in this together.
Yeah.
We're brainstorming together. We're here to help each other, and so to me, it is more consultative. It's having sounding boards. It's kind of having a little test market group without paying for it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And what's nice is that you also offer classes that are after business hours,
try to.
in the evening.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because for me, I teach all day.
Yeah.
And so I just
Absolutely.
run for 3 months during the summer. And then I go back, I'm in the classroom. I go, all right, business, you need to sustain yourself.
Right.
And then I'll come back to you.
Yeah.
Well, and for even people who don't have a wage earning job during the day, a lot of people just can't get out of their business
Yeah.
during business hours. They are the fry cook and the street sweeper and all
Yep.
the things.
Yeah. Otherwise, you're paying somebody. So,
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's right.
So that makes it convenient.
Yeah, that's good.
Speaking of staffing, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that you've had some success through Mantricon, which is our local workforce development group. Can you tell us about that? Because I know some people, have had success, some have had challenges, and some are just don't know about it or are afraid to try?
Yeah. So my first experience with MantraCon was when I tore my quadricep, which was when I actually took the first mastermind class, hopping up these stairs on
on
crutches.
up the stairs.
Yeah. So I contacted MantraCon saying, well, I have to have some help here at the garden because I can't do what I am doing. And then they explained how it would work. What I ended up doing with them is I hired an individual, and it was a job training type program. I'm not sure what it's called.
Okay.
But Ebony Smith was part of that first MantraCon group of individuals I had. And so Ebony and then Gadzooks, little lady wolf, her boyfriend, I can't remember their names right now, but they were hired through MantraCon, and I was training them how to work in the garden. And then the rental house opened up after the pandemic restrictions were all lifted, and I snagged Ebony. I said, Ebony, you and Brandon come work, well, actually, they were living in the house prior to that, but that's what it was. If MantraCon wasn't there to put me in contact with Brandon and Ebony 3 years ago, I don't know what I'd have done. And so then I used them, and however long you can hire an individual through MantraCon, I did. And then school started, and you can't use MantraCon unless you're there at your business full-time training the individuals. And so then I wasn't able to use MantraCon anymore. But Brandon and Ebony, at that point, were living in the house at the garden and helping me at the garden, so it worked really well. And I contacted MantraCon again because I'm going to retire. I'm like, well, I'm going to be here full-time. And I said, I don't need a lot of labor, but you need to love what you're doing. Because if you don't like gardening, you're not going to want to pull the weed or get dirty. And then I found out that they will hire a high school student that wants to do it. And I'm like, well, there's a whole entire ag program out at the high school with landscapers and greenhouse and all of that. And so when I'm done teaching in another year, I want to go back to MantraCon and contact the high school and say, okay, let's get some individuals working out here, and we'll just work full time.
Yeah, and just for the benefit of our audience, a little background on MantraCon. So they're working with people who need some skill up. Sometimes they're people who did not finish school that are working through GED, et cetera. But the magic for the business owner is they will employ the person for a set amount of time, cover workers' comp, they're actually an employee of MantraCon, so you can kind of test them out. And then depending on your industry, they have some program dollars for if you decide to hire them on after their term with MantraCon, they'll underwrite a portion of that salary for a continuing period if you're in the right industry. The other thing they are good at, and I know they're always chasing grant dollars, so I'm not saying it's available 100% of the time, but they do have instances where they can outfit people, whether that's steel-toed shoes or other supportive services like maybe transportation or childcare. So I'm glad you had a good experience with them.
Yes.
I cannot say enough good things about what an asset they are to our community to lower the risk while getting people to where they need to be your employee.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, that outfitting thing, they said, what do you need to work in the garden? I said, they need X, Y, and Z. And they gave them money so they could have that, get the equipment, the clothes, which was great, yeah. And I didn't know they would do that. I'm like, well, what a great thing.
Yeah, because you don't want, I think about even when my daughter was a server at different restaurants in high school and college, by the time I paid for her Bassett license for bartending, the black shoes, the black pants, the white shirt, all the things, it's like I was $80 in the hole so she could have a job. And, I can absorb that, but I know a lot of people, whether it's the candidate for employment or their family, they don't have an extra $80 to get somebody started, or they would already have done it.
Yeah. And for me, it was really easy because all I needed to do was I'd work with the individuals, and then I would evaluate how did they do during the week and send it in weekly. So, yeah, great program.
So my wife just officiated a wedding at Mandala Gardens this summer.
Did she?
Wedding, yeah. So wedding event venue. That we didn't mention that. Do you have a lot of weddings? Is there features for people to be attracted for weddings?
Yeah. Holy smokes! I booked 2 weddings this week.
Oh wow.
It's $100 an hour flat fee. Which is cheap, and it's a pretty place to do it, and a lot of people will be like, oh, great. As opposed to getting married over here, I'll spend 2 hours in the garden and get married. I didn't know that she officiated that.
Yeah. Oh,
Huh.
Hot day. Hot day.
Well, okay. I could probably pick out which wedding that was.
Yeah, it was a Friday evening too, so sometimes it's hard to find event space that, a lot of times it's just Saturdays that places are available.
Nice.
And indoors too, so this was nice.
Yeah.
It didn't rain, so it was a perfect location.
Yeah, that's good. This spring I had to cancel 2 weddings because of rain, and that was the first time in like 4 years. So I consider myself lucky being an outdoor event like that.
Yeah.
You need an indoor space. Just a little space.
Yeah.
Brandon and Ebony are actually moving out. They own a house, and they've owned a house for a long time in Heron, and they're going to move back to their home. So the rental 1702 is going to open back up again.
Okay.
And then I'm going to utilize that space.
Yeah.
I'm not going to have it as a rental for a family.
Okay.
There's a 2-car attached garage. I'd like to finish that. It's about 900 square feet. Okay, great. Now you're in a space. You can look out at the garden.
Yeah.
Just cool off for a little bit. You don't need a lot, but 10 minutes in the AC, I don't care how young you are, it's great.
You also have a little gazebo there too.
Yeah, the 30-foot diameter gazebo is real nice. And that rental house, when we first bought that house in 2010, we had it open. We didn't rent it. And Diana was doing yoga out of the house, and she would put on different workshops through that house. Really, really nice space. So it'll be interesting to see how that changes the dynamics. Because there's a half dozen people, at least every day, drive up to the garden, and then they look, and then they drive away.
Yeah.
Because it's not quite done yet. My curb appeal needs worked on. But once I have that house, I'm like, oh, great. Put a logo on the front of the house, make it a gift shop, or something.
There you go.
Well, I mean, you said yoga. I think that's a great use, but even smaller bridal or baby showers, book clubs are always looking for a place to meet.
And that's
different
another thing, too. I'm like, well, if
organizations.
I had it as a retail space, then it's going to be opened up every single day, and you have to hire somebody in it, and la-di-da-di-da. But if you're doing exactly what you said, well, great, I got a 2,100 square foot house and this whole entire garden, and I have 3 bedrooms, and you can have a crying room for your baby in the back. That's perfect.
Yeah.
Or a nap room.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'll decide. I'll go one way or the other.
Yeah. So, setting the New York Times article to the side, you've kind of joked about your website not being what you want it to be and social media, but how do people find you? I mean, they're finding you.
Yeah, mandalagardens.org is our website. On Facebook, Instagram, and that's all the social media I have. And that's the only way people find us. And I think that what they do is they Google things to do in Marion.
Okay.
Because when it comes up on TripAdvisor, I'm like number 1 or number 2, depending on what your link is. And I can always tell if you're an out-of-town visitor or if you're in town, because Google always takes them past the VFW.
Yeah.
And so anybody that comes from the north is a
Interesting.
tourist coming in, and everybody that's the regulars are coming from the south.
Yeah.
I've noticed that a lot.
Yeah.
In fact, it's the trend. Unless you fly down and you come from Spillertown, then they're just townies. They know the market.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, earlier we kind of joked about you jumping out of airplanes and how, teaching junior high kids, but is that really kind of good training for small business owners? Because I think resiliency is something when I look at you, because you're not really talking about a lot of the mistakes or the problems you've had, but you're really not talking because your attitude's different.
Oh, yeah. Well, what problem do you want to talk about? Yeah.
But you don't necessarily see them as problems, more challenges maybe.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
It's like, if you have to try. Okay, I was just talking with my brother the other day, and all of our conversation through our whole life was, if you're in your comfort zone, you're not growing. Stop doing what you're doing.
Yeah.
Because you just stagnate, and if you push it, you're going to make a mistake, and you're going to stumble, and it's going to make your stomach hurt because you get all nervous. But then you just learn from it. Yeah. And every business owner, you have to be persistent. And if it's not your passion, don't do it. Oh my gosh, don't do it, because it will burn you out. And everybody says, well, how do you do this? I'm like, well, I just like being outside and gardening. And I've done it my whole life, worked on farms, all of this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But you have to be passionate, chip away at it. If you have a vision, it'll continue to grow every year.
Yeah.
But I'm really lucky that I have a teaching job too. Mm-hmm. And so I'm not like so many small business owners are. That is their income.
Right.
And what that is a whole nother world. Mm-hmm. More power to them, because that is tough.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah.
Well, you kind of interweaved your why you do what you do, but is there any more to that?
Well, when we came to Marion, I just like growing things.
Yeah.
Yeah, every place that we've ever lived, every apartment, always dug up the yard, grew flowers on it. We'd move out, they'd spray it with Roundup and put it back in grass. And it was just a passion to just growing. And when we came into Marion, this is 20, Gadzooks, Rain is 27, so 27 years, 26 years ago,
Yeah.
or whatever. The town was not as big as it is now. It has grown tremendously. And there were a lot of things in Marion, except they didn't have a garden.
Yeah.
And we're like, we're going to make a garden.
That's excellent.
And keep it from being a park. Nothing with the park. I don't mind parks, but there's a difference. And it's like, Marion needs a garden because every town needs a garden.
Yeah.
That's my thought.
That's excellent.
Because I think people will go. It's like, that's neat. Just stop by for 30 minutes or get away, stretch your legs after the hotel.
Yeah.
And that's something also neat. You can obviously have the hotel crowd that comes in. You have your photographer crowd that comes in. So the garden has a flow.
Yeah.
It's nice to see it's sustaining itself.
Good.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. And back to your social media thing. I am not a social media person, but if somebody tags the garden, I forward the photographs. So all the photographers, and there's a gazillion of them out there that are so good, and so they tag the garden, and tourists will tag the garden. And so I find that it's a lot easier to use somebody else's photo that's better than mine
Yeah.
and put it out there.
absolutely. Plus, everybody has a different audience.
Yeah, they do.
And so you're just doubling all the time.
And then you get different perspectives. Like, what do you think is pretty as opposed to what photograph am I going to take?
Yeah.
And there's some amazing photographers out there. Yeah, they're really good.
That's great. Yeah.
When we moved to the lake, we purchased a terraced lakeside property that was very, very overgrown. And I had the suburban temptation for a good bit of time of put down the weed barrier, rock or mulch, whatever. And in recent years, I think it's something about being in my 50s, I've went almost exclusively, I forget annual or perennial, which ones come back?
Perennial.
Perennial
Yes.
wildflowers.
Yeah.
And my heart is happy and I love it and I don't care if anybody else likes it. But I like, when I come to your place, I feel like it's a very good balance of a little bit wild and curated. And I feel like that is part of why it appeals to photographers and artists, is that it is a good blend. So just a compliment to you of,
Thanks.
it is very well laid out, but there's also some parts that, are a little untamed.
Oh, that's true. Kind of cottage garden-esque. There's a lot of foxtail out there right now in some beds.
Yeah. That's excellent.
But yeah, and with growing all the plants in the garden, not all of them, but so many of them came from other individuals who had extra plants. They knew what I was doing. They said, do you want some iris? And Susan Palace, I have iris from Susan Palace, and there's a white lilac that's been there for 20 years. And it's in a full shade garden now because the trees have grown up, it's full shade. But a whole bunch of individuals. The garden club came out when I first started. Of course, the garden club is great. They did a thing. We had a garden tour. Junior high service club comes out in the spring and the fall, and they plant the garden, which is nice. Target has volunteers that come out every spring and help plant in the garden. And yeah. And so when I expand, I'll do the same thing. I'll make a bed, and the plants will show up. I'm not worried about that. And it is a little wild, but I have a lot of wildlife that eats a lot of things. I can't grow a daylily. Well, I can grow them, but they won't bloom. And so there's a lot of plants I'd like to have that I can't have, so the ones that I do have are more native, as you're saying, but they look really pretty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think you have a new crop, pun intended, of volunteers in the wings. The mayor and I met with the FFA kids, and they are actually growing by leaps and bounds, and they have 71 freshmen who have indicated interest in FFA.
Awesome.
Wow.
And they are looking for service projects. So
Wow.
Right.
I think that could be a lead for
Who, the building trades, did they not design that house that they just built? I thought they did.
Yeah.
I think they do.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So none of the beds in the garden have been transplanted. gadzooks, 15 years. And I had a thought the other day, I'm like, it would really be a really neat project for these students to design what plants are going to be in whichever garden I have.
Absolutely.
Because I don't care what the plant is, I just want it to look pretty.
Yeah.
And that'd be, that's really neat.
That's good.
Yeah, no, I've worked with the team that's doing the two houses over at Midway.
All right.
And they, I don't want to say patronize, but like they'll come with me and they'll have all the color swatches and everything for the house. And I'll say, well, what about a red door? And they'll be like, that's really cute, but we are going to do a yellow door. I mean, they know what is modern and current and what's appealing to people who are buying new houses now. But they're great to work with. They've even so one house was going to be a little bit different floor plan, and they very quickly called the mayor, Cody, and I out because they were like, this living room is way too small if we do what we were planning to do. And we just made a punt on this on the property, and we're able to reconfigure things to make it more appropriate size. So they're super talented. Anybody who wants to question the next generation can come talk to me because they are a very impressive group.
Oh, yeah. I see them come through every year. And everybody, they always diss on the next generation. No, they're the same. You're just getting a little old.
Right, yes.
Yeah, excellent.
Yeah.
Greg, is there anything we left out that you want included?
No, not that I can think of off the top of my head. Just thanks to everybody who comes to the garden, all the photographers, visitors. Couldn't do it without you.
That's great.
So, yeah,
awesome.
And appreciate you having me here.
No, I appreciate you. I also want to give another shout out to Luke O'Neill, who is our producer of this podcast, because I know that he's been a great collaborator.
Oh, yeah.
For the garden.
Yeah, tremendous collaborator. So, Art in the Garden, way to go, Luke.
Yeah. When is that?
We're going to do it again next year in the fall, probably. The heat has hit us in the fall. The heat hits us in the spring.
Crazy.
So it's like, it doesn't even matter. You're just going to do the event. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think we're going to move it back to the fall again.
Do you have any big events coming this fall?
Nothing planned.
Okay.
No, there's
Very
a bunch of weddings and et cetera, but I don't have any vendor fairs planned for the fall. And so going to ride the season out, wrap it up, see what happens in March when Brandon and Ebony move back to their place, and we'll go from there.
Excellent.
Yeah.
As far as selling plants and whatnot, is that a year round, or when does it restart? Or
No, I'll flip a plant.
Okay.
I'll flip spring bedding plants so I can end up having my bedding plants for free, and I'll flip some mums, but I'm not a nursery. I don't want to sell plants. I do that just to sustain the garden.
Good.
So you can come out this fall, there'll be a few mums like I always have. I'll get a couple hundred.
Okay.
But you have the patch out there that has, they got a good job with the mums. So
Yeah. And the address again is?
1704 North State Street.
In Marion, Illinois.
In Marion, Illinois, and the garden spans two properties, 1702 and 1704.
And the website that still needs to be worked on is?
MandalaGardens.org, and you can check that out on Facebook. And if you want to see the progress of the garden throughout the years, there's albums that shows everything being built. Pond, all the sculptures, everything.
Yeah. Excellent.
Awesome.
Thank you, Greg.
You're welcome.
Appreciate
Thanks so
being
much.
here.
Yeah. Appreciate it.
Great.
And we want to thank you for joining us on our episodes of Small Town Big Business. And we want to thank our sponsors for sponsoring us: Arcadia Wealth Group, Black Diamond Harley Davidson and RV, Fowler Heating and Cooling, Swinford Media Group, the Watermark Auto Group Foundation, and Banterra Bank in Southern Illinois Now. And also reach out to Union Street Arts. Luke O'Neill is our producer of this podcast. If you want to know more about Ethos, the small business incubator, courses and classes and mentorship, you can reach out to ethosmarion.org and find all about us.
And thank you so much for finding us. Please stay with us. I encourage you to go back and listen to prior episodes. There's some very good gems there and some great backstory to where we are today. We appreciate a share, a rate, a review. All of those things help us grow our audience. If you want to learn more about doing business specifically in the city of Marion, I'm your person, Jennifer Olson, Director of Business Development. You can find me on Tower Square Plaza at City Hall, and you can find my contact information on LinkedIn. Thanks for joining us.